The Royal Guards represent tradition and discipline, serving a purpose beyond just being a visual spectacle. While they stand firm and unmovable, some individuals can't help but test their limits, and it almost always backfires. Join us as we discuss the people who foolishly tried to mess with the Royal Guard. Now, without wasting any time, let's dive right in. Don't touch the horse. I can't understand why anyone would think it's a good idea to touch a Royal Guard's horse. Big mistake. Without missing a beat, the mounted guard bellowed, "Stand back from the Queen's lifeguard. Don't touch the reins." Good Lord. Catherine. His voice echoed across the square, startling the woman, who quickly jumped back wide-eyed. You could almost feel her shock through the screen as she hurried away. To make matters even more awkward, the entire incident was captured on video and later went viral on TikTok. The poster, apparently her child, added the dramatic caption, "We will never return to London after this incident." The comments online were a mix of amusement and disbelief, with some praising the guard for standing his ground, while others couldn't help but question why anyone would mess with the horse or the guard in the first place. Guy tries to pick a fight with Royal Guards. Unfortunately, it's not just the British Royal Guards who are facing rude and entitled tourists. Over in Norway, outside the Grand Royal Palace in Oslo, one man thought it would be a brilliant idea to confront the King's Guards. The incident began innocently enough, with tourists milling about, snapping photos of the regal-looking guards in their ceremonial uniforms and plumed hats. But one individual decided to take it up a notch, stepping up to one of the guards as if he were in a boxing ring. Seriously, what was he thinking? Did he believe the guard would drop his rifle and say, "All right, let's settle this like men," instead of ignoring the provocation? The guards maintained their composure at first, but when the tourist continued to push, the professionals sprang into action with swift precision, immobilizing him before he even realized what was happening. If he thought he was going to earn some kind of imaginary prize for besting a guard, he was in for a rude awakening. To make matters worse, after being detained and publicly humiliated, he attempted to walk away as if nothing had happened. No apology, no explanation, just sheer arrogance. Confronting American tourists. Sometimes, tourists forget that the King's Guard are real soldiers, not just props for their vacation selfies. This was precisely the case when a group of American tourists got a bit too carried away, heckling a motionless guard in London. The scene unfolded outside one of the city's iconic royal landmarks, where the King's Guard stood stoically, ignoring the giggling women as they shouted names at him and attempted to provoke a reaction. The highlight for the group seemed to be when the guard licked his lips, prompting excited shrieks from them. However, while they laughed, the soldier maintained his composure, remaining as still as a statue despite their obnoxious antics. Enter the armed Metropolitan Police officer, who was not amused. Calmly yet firmly, he approached the group and delivered a no-nonsense reality check. He reminded them that the soldiers served their country and took their duties seriously, emphasizing that this was not something to be taken lightly. His disapproval was clear. He went on to explain the long hours and demanding nature of standing guard, reminding them that this was not some theme park attraction. Then, with polite but unmistakable firmness, he asked them to leave, leaving them embarrassed and likely regretting their choices. The tourists quickly scurried away as onlookers watched and filmed the scene. Social media soon flooded with praise for the officer's intervention. Royal Guards scare a man. Can you imagine how exhausting it must be for the Royal Guards when a school group arrives? It's almost a guarantee that at least one kid will try to test their limits. One morning, outside the main entrance, it happened again. This time, however, the guard wasn't having it. Dressed in an especially regal uniform, the guards stood motionless while tourists waited for their turn to take photos. Then came the self-proclaimed class clown. When his moment arrived, he strutted up, determined to outshine everyone by flashing some cringe-worthy gang signs next to the guard. Maybe he thought he looked cool, or perhaps he just wanted to impress his friends. Either way, it didn't go as he had planned. Without moving a muscle, the guard brought his foot down with a thunderous stomp. The sound echoed like a cannon shot, and the effect was immediate. The boy froze, his confidence evaporating in an instant. Whatever tough guy image he was trying to project crumbled as he stared up at the guard, who didn't even need to utter a word. That icy, unflinching gaze spoke volumes. The other kids erupted in laughter, while the embarrassed boy tried to slink away unnoticed. Not exactly the reaction he had hoped for. Meanwhile, the guard returned to business as usual, as if nothing had happened. This guy made a huge mistake, thinking he could mess with the Queen's Guard and get away with it. If you've ever been to London and seen those iconic soldiers in their red tunics and towering bearskin hats, you know they're not to be taken lightly. Sure, they stand still like statues while tourists take selfies and laugh, but underneath that stillness is a highly trained soldier. One guy learned that the hard way. Picture it. Wellington Barracks. Chilly enough to see your breath. The soldiers are in their summer uniforms despite the freezing cold. They're under the watchful eyes of Major General Ben Bathurst and the infamous Garrison Sergeant Major Andrew Stokes. These inspections are serious business. Every move, every detail, even the angle of their bearskin hats gets scrutinized. It's a display of discipline that prepares them for both ceremonial duties and potential combat. Enter our unlucky tourist. He thought it'd be funny to heckle a guard during this high-stakes moment. As he got in the soldier's face, throwing insults and trying to intimidate, the guard snapped into action without breaking form. In one swift, controlled motion, he landed a punch that knocked the man flat. Lesson learned: don't mess with the Queen's Guard. They're soldiers, and they don't mess around. How arrogant do you have to be to believe that tossing a glove at a Queen's Guard would prompt him to retrieve it for you? Apparently, one tourist at the Tower of London thought just that. And let's just say, it didn't go as she had hoped. The scene unfolded near the iconic beefeater-guarded tower, where a royal guard stood resolutely at his post, as always, ignoring the bustling crowd. Enter the glove thrower, a girl who thought it would be funny to toss her glove onto the ground in front of the guard, expecting him to break protocol and pick it up. Spoiler alert, that's not how these guards operate. True to his training, the guard remained completely still, staring straight ahead, unfazed by the little game. Meanwhile, her friend filmed the entire incident, laughing and providing commentary as if it were a sporting event. "Who's gonna pick it up first?" he mused aloud. The answer? Neither of them. Instead, a beefeater, responsible for both security and historical tours at the Tower of London, intervened, approaching the couple with evident frustration. He demanded to know why they had thrown a glove at a soldier and went on to remind them that the guard was there to protect the crown jewels, not to serve as a source of entertainment, urging them to show some respect. This time, a cheeky tourist learned the hard way that provoking a royal guard isn't as harmless as it seems. Nick Ibarra, a 23-year-old student from Colombia, decided to push his luck by testing the patience of a Scots guardsman on sentry duty outside St. James's Palace. He started off by laughing, mimicking the guard's rigid marching and turning the whole thing into a comedy routine. But the guard wasn't laughing. Encouraged by his friend Suzanne, Nick thought it would be even funnier to march alongside the soldier for some extra laughs. He had heard the tales. The guards only intervened when things got serious, so he thought he could afford to joke around. How mistaken he was. The guard, clearly fed up, whirled around and smacked Nick on the back of the head. As if that weren't enough of a warning, he then aimed a kick at the startled student and shoved him aside with his SAT rifle. All while bellowing like a lion, Suzanne, who had been filming, panicked and quickly stopped recording. It was a shame because the video would have gone viral in seconds. Instead, the pair took off running. Shaken and embarrassed, Nick later confessed that he felt a huge hand grab his collar and only just managed to dodge a boot. He didn't stick around to see what would happen next. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay awesome.